Elliot Kane, a New York billionaire, woke up that morning in his 82nd floor penthouse with the feeling that the world had slowed down. He was 56, and he thought he had seen it all: market crashes, cheating partners, even his own divorce. But this time he was about to be hit with a blow he could not have predicted. The phone rang before sunrise. The lawyer's voice was dry, almost cold. "Elliot, last night the FBI opened a case against you. You are accused of large-scale financial fraud." Kane felt the words pierce him like an icy wind. His chest tightened. "This is a mistake. Someone is playing against me," he tried to convince himself. But within hours, his face was all over the news. Is Kane's empire built on lies? His company was under attack from investors, and its stock was plummeting. His closest friends wouldn't answer the phone. And at home his son shouted, "You set us up. We are now a disgrace to the whole country." These words hurt more than the headlines. That evening, sitting in the darkness by the window, he looked out at the city that had once applauded his victories. "All my life I have built walls of money and power. And now these walls have destroyed me," he thought. And for the first time in decades he felt fear. The following weeks became hell. Congress demanded testimony, the media exposed new facts. One by one, former partners turned away. Someone sold his company for next to nothing, someone appeared on a talk show, telling the truth about his machinations. Elliot tried to fight back, he organized press conferences, hired the best lawyers. But the more he spoke, the deeper he sank. It seemed that someone was deliberately pushing him into the abyss. "You have to plead guilty and make a deal," the lawyer said. "I'm not a criminal," Elliot shouted. "This is all a pretext." "In the media world, the truth is not decided by the court, but by the audience," the lawyer replied coldly. The worst thing was losing his family. His wife, whom he had barely seen in recent years, filed for divorce. His son had blocked his number. And in the streets, protesters were burning effigy of his face. One evening, he returned to the estate and found it empty. The servants had left, the guards had disappeared. Only a note: "We can't be together anymore." Then Kane cried for the first time. Not for the money, but for the loss of everything that seemed eternal. "Nobody needs me anymore," he whispered in the darkness. Just when it seemed that the darkness had finally engulfed him, Linda, a former journalist whom he had once accidentally saved from bankruptcy by giving her a grant, appeared. She knocked on the door of his apartment, holding a folder in her hands. "You are not being destroyed because of your business," she said. "I found the documents. It is a conspiracy." It turned out that his former mentor, financial magnate Harold Stone, was behind everything. The man who had once raised him to the top was now determined to take everything away, using his connections in politics and the media. The papers contained offshore schemes, forged signatures, even false testimonies. "They made you the scapegoat to cover up their crimes," Linda explained. As Elliot listened, something inside him came alive. This was not just a fight for money. This was a matter of honor. He clutched the documents in his hands and felt the fire in his heart rekindle. "If I go against them, I could die," he whispered. "And if I don't, you'll die slowly," Linda replied. That night he decided, there will be no more silence. Elliot stepped out of the shadows. He appeared live on national television and said, "Yes, I've made mistakes. But the truth is different. We're all being deceived by those we consider heroes." He laid out the documents, named the names. It was suicide, the entire system turned against him. He was humiliated in Congress, accused of lying. Stone publicly declared him mentally ill. But society began to doubt. People saw in his eyes not a cold billionaire, but a man who had lost everything and was fighting for the truth. "I'm ready to lose the remnants of my wealth, my freedom, even my life, but I won't give up," he said. Stone came to him at night. You can still keep quiet. I'll give you a new empire, he whispered. I'm not selling the truth anymore, Elliot replied. And even if I go to jail tomorrow, you've already lost. This was the point of no return. A few months later, the trial was over. Stone was indeed indicted, but Elliot was no hero either. His business collapsed, he was left penniless. The newspapers called him an idealist, a madman, a romantic. He settled in a small house by the sea. Every morning he went out to the shore and listened to the sound of the waves. One day his son came to him and said, I don't know who you were to the world. But to me you have become a father again. Elliot smiled for the first time in a long time. He understood, sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself. The story did not have a happy ending in the classical sense. But it had the truth. And with it, freedom. Is it possible to be rich and honest? He thought, looking at the horizon. There was no answer. Only the waves that whispered, the truth is always more expensive. Life in a small house by the sea was supposed to be peaceful, but there was no peace. Every morning, as he stepped ashore, Elliot felt the gaze of the unseen world. The press would not let him go, journalists would come to the village, trying to find out why the former Wall Street titan lives like a recluse. He remained silent. But one day a young girl knocked on the door. She introduced herself as a journalism student. Mr. Kane, I'm writing my thesis on how the truth changes history. Can I talk to you? He was silent for a long time, but then he invited her inside. Her questions were simple but painful. Do you regret it? Every day, he replied. But at the same time, I'm breathing freely for the first time in my life. Is the truth worth all these losses? Elliot thought for a moment, then said quietly. It's never been cheap. The truth always costs the most. The girl wrote down his words, and he felt that they left a mark not only on the paper but also in her eyes. For the first time after all the losses, he saw meaning. Perhaps his story would be a shield for others who still hesitated between silence and the truth. A year passed. The Stone case was partially closed, several people were convicted, but the main players escaped punishment. The system turned out to be stronger than it seemed. And then an old acquaintance, a politician from Washington, came to Elliot. You can still come back, he said. We have a plan, create a fund, enter new markets. Your name will shine again. Elliot smiled bitterly. My name was already in the sky. So what? I was left alone among the ruins. But you can change the game from the inside, the politician insisted. Can I change the game if I become a part of it myself? Kane asked. His heart was breaking. The temptation was great, to feel power, influence again, to return to the top. But he saw how this peak had killed his soul once. At night he sat on the shore for a long time, listening to the waves. And suddenly in the darkness he heard Linda's voice. She had arrived without warning. If you return, you will betray not only yourself, but also everyone who believed in your sacrifice, she said. Elliot looked at her, and it seemed to him that she was the only compass left in his life. The last chapter of his life began to be written quietly. He created a small center for youth, not a foundation, not a business, but a place where they were taught to tell the truth and not be afraid of the system. There was no gold, there were no loud names. There were children who listened to his stories and asked questions. One day a student journalist, the same one who had come a year ago, brought him a book. On the cover was his name. The Price of Silence. She had written his story. This is not a biography, she said. This is a warning. Elliot picked up the book and felt a strange warmth rise in his chest. He smiled, maybe I left something more than money after all. In the evening he sat on the shore, listening to the sea and thinking, I was rich and lost everything. But maybe that's how I became truly alive. The story ended in silence. But that silence was deeper than any words, for in it was born a legacy that could not be bought.